what do you think of Not Your Shield, which was created in response to people claiming that GamerGate supporters are only white men?
Because, as I said before, I thought Not Your Shield was necessary. And one of the reasons why is because, hey, you guys are having ethical violations. This is not a social justice issue. You can't hide behind the fact that that there are women who are being attacked or anything like that. You can't say that everyone who's attacking you are only white men. No, you guys are just assholes. You're not telling the truth, and it has nothing to do with anything having to do with social justice. That was the original reasoning behind the Not Your Shield hashtag. And I think it was a necessary one. But also, that's part of the reason why the later discussion about the social justice angle for Gamergate was a no-go from the start, because of that. And that's what made it difficult to say, like, we're going to talk about social justice now, because really the kicker was a bunch of unethical people trying to shield themselves behind the fact that they happen to be pro-feminist, pro-women. That's the kind of thing that they were trying to hide behind. So
How could the GamerGate conversation have been more productive?
that relied on the journalists. Unfortunately, it couldn't have been. I mean, there were individuals who reached out and talked to people, and people like yourself who actually go out and actually have these conversations and made it a lot better. People reaching out to anti-Gamergate and just one by one having good conversations. But on the journalist part, the fact that they were not even part of the conversation or even want to be part of the conversation in SVJ Airplay speaks volumes in itself. There couldn't have been a better way when the other party doesn't even want to show up, because we are in a sense beneath them, and they know they can't, they know there's no reason to show up because now they're guilty. So what's going to happen?
All right, now we've talked about this a little bit before, but obviously you talked about why the games press decided to make the whole conversation about sexism and harassment rather than about what you perceive Gamergate as having actually been about. But
Mm-hmm.
why did some people believe this story that Gamergate people were sexist or harassers?
Oh, the power of the press. I mean, simply put, they have the power of the microphone. And not only that, but then you have like the major media like BBC, MSNBC, the CBC, like a whole bunch of all those broadcasting companies up and down the whole way. Like they all had the microphone and framed it as such. So what power do the rest of us have? I
No,
mean,
go ahead.
go ahead. I mean, over time, yeah, sure. Like it eventually bore out in time, but it took it. It's still, they still have the microphone and they like to use it. 9 years later, they're still using it.
Now, you were part of the Gamergate Harassment Patrol, so is it safe to say that condemning harassment was very important to you?
No, it was, yes. If you remember, if I don't know, there was a whole bunch of people who actually said, "I support Gamergate. I condemn harassment." People, made memes of that and retweeted it all over the place and made a big deal out of it, because we wanted to make sure people knew, and it couldn't be, and told the press, "Hey, this is not what we're doing."
Do you think that the Gamergate community at large did a good job condemning harassment on their side or by third-party trolls?
Yes, I think they did, and some people were directly doxxed and harassed because they stood up against it.
Yeah, I
Because
was
they
too.
were, yeah. So, but they did the best they could, and thankfully, and I'm very thankful for everything they did. It was crazy, the number of people who were just trying to make it even worse.
Now,
The
when
fact
the go ahead.
that the fact that gamers stood up and said, "No, we're not going to do this. We're not going to let you push us into doing anything more extreme. We're not going to do this kind of violent thing, even though you're hurting us." And we know it's not anti-Gamergate doing it. There's a lot of like trolls doing it. In fact, that was actually the most impressive part. Is like a whole bunch of people would identify them as third-party trolls, not anti-Gamergate trolls. They were third-party trolls,
Yeah,
and that, I think, was really responsible.
and it's this is an aspect of the conversation I'm not delved into too much in these interviews, but we all know that there were so many of these trolls, these third-party trolls, who very much wanted to just fuck with everybody. And like we know these people's names even. Like they weren't even trying to hide who they were. They wanted to brag about how many people they doxed on both sides. They wanted to build a reputation as like someone you should be afraid of on the internet, and they were very open about who they were.
Hmm.
And we could talk about names, but I sort of have a policy where I don't name third-party trolls because I don't want to give them the attention. Like
Yeah, I
if
wouldn't
they
either.
end up in a book, if they end up in a book, like holy cow, right? Like they finally made it, right? That's like the ultimate troll on their part. They'll feel like they succeeded. It was all worthwhile because they got their name in a freaking book. So I don't want to give them that gratification and like justify their behavior to themselves in their eyes.
Yeah. And not only that, but like for me, it's like a lot of it's water in the bridge, and hopefully they moved on with their lives and
No,
actually don't.
dude, they haven't. They're still obsessed, dude. I swear, it's true. A
Oh
lot of
well.
them are still are